It was a crisp autumn night in Cottonwood Heights, Utah, the kind of night when the air hums with a silent chill and streetlights cast long shadows on glistening pavements. Inside a sprawling million-dollar home nestled at the heart of this affluent neighborhood, tension simmered beneath its pristine facade. The clock had just ticked past 11:47 p.m. when Jennifer Gledhill's voice crackled over the phone, each word laden with a foreboding weight that echoed into the silence, forever altering the path of her life. She reported her husband missing, a decorated Green Beret, a father, a husband. But this was no ordinary disappearance. The perfect family portrait was about to shatter, revealing a dark, twisted underbelly of lies, betrayal, and a chilling resolve that would captivate the nation. The air was heavy with the scent of damp leaves as the autumn chill settled over Cottonwood Heights, a whisper of unease threading through the slumbering suburb. This was a neighborhood painted in broad strokes of prosperity and security, where the houses stood like sentinels, guarding the secrets within. Yet, behind the walls of one such residence, a storm was brewing, its force set to unravel a tale as complex as the labyrinthine streets that wove through this affluent enclave. Jennifer Gledhill stood in the dim light of her living room, her hands trembling slightly as she clutched the phone. The quiet ticking of the clock was a metronome marking the passage of night she would never forget. Her voice, when she spoke, was a tightrope walk between desperation and determination. "My husband is missing," she declared, each syllable slicing through the silence like a knife. It was a declaration that would echo far beyond the confines of her home, reverberating through the annals of true crime history. Matthew Johnson was a name that commanded respect. A Green Beret with the Utah National Guard's 19th Special Forces Group, he was a man forged in the crucible of conflict, a warrior with a steadfast resolve and a heart that beat for his family. In his wife's eyes, though, his military accolades and steadfast demeanor were overshadowed by the shadows creeping into their marriage, shadows that had begun to suffocate the light of their once happy union. To the outside world, the Johnsons were the epitome of the American dream. $1 million home, 3 beautiful children, and a life of unassuming privilege. Jennifer played the role of the devoted mother with a practiced grace, her public persona a mask concealing the turbulent emotions roiling beneath. But the polished surface of their life was riddled with cracks, fissures that had spidered out from a deep-seated dysfunction threatening to tear them apart. It was in July 2024 that the facade began to crumble. Words once whispered in the sanctity of their home now found their place in courtrooms and legal documents. Divorce was more than a possibility. It was an impending reality. Jennifer's cries for help came cloaked in accusations, her desperation mounting as she sought protection from a man she painted as volatile. The courts, however, saw a different picture, a marital dance of mutual antagonism, each partner stepping on the other's toes in a tragic waltz toward inevitable destruction. Commissioner Russell Minus became an unwitting prophet, his judgment casting a shadow across the events that were about to unfold. The evidence was stark, damning even, yet it spoke of a battle between equals rather than a victim and her oppressor. Text messages revealed a symphony of bitterness, a cacophony of disdain that belied the image of a harmonious household. Jennifer's attempts to provoke, to incite, were as chilling as they were revealing, a testament to a love turned toxic. The ruling was clear: no abuse, no need for protection. It was a decision that would ripple through time, its consequences reaching out like a ghostly hand to choke the future. Yet, beneath the veneer of courtroom decorum, a darker narrative was quietly unfolding, a narrative of premeditated resolve and unyielding finality. As September unfolded, so too did Matthew's demeanor begin to shift. Friends noted a marked change in the soldier, an undercurrent of anxiety that belied his otherwise unflappable nature. Jennifer's behavior was a specter haunting his days, an erratic force that seemed to consume her, leaving Matthew adrift in a marriage that had become a battlefield. In the days that followed, the tragic events would unspool with a grim inevitability, like a thread unraveling from a tightly wound spool. The case of Matthew Johnson, father, husband, hero, would become a chilling reminder of the fragility of human relationships and the dark corners we are capable of turning to when pushed to our limits. The silence of that autumn night would give way to the clamor of investigation, the searchlights of justice illuminating truths long hidden in the shadows. As dawn painted the Utah sky in muted grays and golds, Jennifer's footsteps echoed through the quiet of her home, now void of the chaos that had erupted just hours before. She moved with a mechanical precision, her heart a tempest of emotions that threatened to spill over into the meticulous facade she was desperately trying to maintain. The master bedroom, once a sanctum of shared dreams and whispered promises, was now a crime scene. The air was thick with the acrid scent of bleach, a stark contrast to the lavender-scented candles that usually perfumed the room. Every stroke of the scrub brush against the walls seemed to replay the events of the previous night, each motion a futile attempt to erase not just the physical evidence, but also the moral stain that marked her soul. In her mind, Jennifer replayed the argument, a cacophony of accusations and betrayals that had crescendoed into violence. Matthew's voice, usually commanding and steady, had cracked with the weight of newfound knowledge, each word delivered with the force of betrayal. "How could you?" he had demanded, his voice echoing through the hallways of their life together, a question that lingered unanswered in the space between them. The children were still blissfully unaware, their laughter and innocence temporarily safeguarded by the distance of their grandparents' home. Jennifer had made sure of that, orchestrating their absence with a chilling foresight that now mirrored the cold reality she had created. The house, once filled with the vibrant noise of family life, now stood in stillness, the quiet punctuated only by her methodical movements. Jennifer's mind was a storm of conflicting emotions. Part of her was gripped by an icy calm, the other caught in a spiral of panic and remorse. Her fingers trembled as she scrubbed away the vestiges of their life, each swath of cleaning fluid a reminder of the permanence of her actions. She paused to catch her breath, the rhythmic thud of her heartbeat the only testament to the life that still pulsed through her veins. The new mattress arrived, stark and unblemished, an unwelcome reminder of the chasm between the life she had led and the one she now inhabited. She dragged it into the house with a strength born of desperation, her breath coming in ragged gasps. It was a futile effort to overwrite the past, to replace the blood-soaked truth with an illusion of normalcy. Outside, the autumn wind rustled the leaves, casting shadows that danced across the landscape, whispering secrets of their own. The world beyond her walls continued, oblivious to the tragedy concealed within. The neighbors, accustomed to the couple's occasional disputes, remained unaware of the sinister transformation that had taken place mere yards away. As evening fell, Jennifer sat in the dim kitchen, the glow of the overhead lights casting long shadows across the floor. Her mind drifted to the grave she had hastily dug, the earth that now held the man she had once promised to love forever. It was a secret too vast to contain, a truth too dark to remain hidden. She could feel its weight pressing down on her, an inevitability that promised to unravel her carefully constructed deception. In the days that followed, the community would awaken to the whispers of scandal and tragedy, the pristine veneer of their suburban idol shattered. But for now, Jennifer sat alone, the silence around her as heavy as the guilt that engulfed her, a silent witness to the darkness that had claimed them all. Search warrant on Jennifer's home. The air was thick with an unsettling vibe, a tangible presence of something sinister lurking just beneath the seemingly ordinary suburban exterior. The officers moved cautiously, their senses heightened by the gravity of the task at hand and the unease that accompanied it. The early morning sun had barely begun to peek over the horizon, casting an eerie half-light across the quiet neighborhood, when the police vehicles silently approached Jennifer's house. The soft crunch of gravel under their tires was almost deafening in the pre-dawn stillness. As they stepped out, the chill of the morning air nipped at their skin, the cold biting through their uniforms, a stark contrast to the warmth of their adrenaline-fueled bodies. Inside, the house was suffocating in its silence, a stark contrast to the pulsing tension that filled the air. The officers noted the meticulous cleanliness of the rooms they entered, the scent of bleach lingering like a ghost of Jennifer's desperate attempts to erase her crime. It was an antiseptic facade that did little to mask the underlying decay of what had transpired within these walls. Detective Harrison, a veteran with a penchant for uncovering the truth hidden in plain sight, led the team. His eyes, sharp and unyielding, scanned every surface, every shadow, seeking the secrets they knew were concealed within. The walls seemed to whisper their stories to him, tales of love soured and promises broken. In the kitchen, the heart of the home, the air was heavy with an unshakable sense of foreboding. The officers moved systematically, opening cabinets and drawers, searching for any clue that might corroborate the chilling confession recorded by Jennifer's lover. The hum of the refrigerator was the only sound, its monotonous drone a reminder of the mundane life that had once filled this space. The officers' footsteps echoed softly down the hallway as they moved toward the back of the house. The carpeted floors muted their approach, adding to the dreamlike quality of the moment. It was as if time had slowed, each second stretching into eternity, the anticipation of discovery hanging thick in the air. As they reached the bedroom, Detective Harrison felt a shiver run down his spine. It was a sensation he had come to recognize, an almost preternatural awareness that something significant lay just beyond his reach. The room was unremarkable at first glance, the bed neatly made, the curtains drawn back to reveal the growing light of day. But it was there, he knew, where the facade cracked. It was in the closet that they found the first tangible evidence of Jennifer's crime. Hidden beneath a pile of hastily folded clothes was a small, unassuming box. Detective Harrison's hands were steady as he lifted it, the weight of its contents undeniable. Inside, they found a handgun, its surface clean and cold, and a small notebook, the pages filled with scrawled entries of a mind unraveling. Each page was a testament to Jennifer's descent, a chronicle of her disintegration as she rationalized her actions, justified the unjustifiable. There was a chilling detachment in her words, a void where emotion should have been. The officers exchanged glances, the gravity of what they had uncovered settling heavily over them. Outside, in the burgeoning light of day, the world continued unaware of the dark revelations taking place within. Yet, as the officers emerged from Jennifer's home, it was clear that the veil of normalcy had been irreparably lifted. The truth, now brought into the harsh light of reality, would not be ignored. The neighborhood, once a sanctuary of suburban tranquility, would never be the same again. Not who he thought she was. His words hung in the air, a chilling reminder of the deception that had seeped into their lives, like a creeping fog obscuring their vision of reality. The investigators returned to the Gledhill residence, the aura of the place now laden with the stench of bleach and the deeper, more subtle odor of deceit. Detective Harrison replayed the details in his mind as he stepped across the threshold, the once familiar environment now twisted into something sinister. The air was heavy with the residue of fear and betrayal, cloying at the back of the throat like an unshed tear. As they approached the master bedroom, the scene before them was a macabre tableau, each element whispering secrets of a tragic dance that had played out within its confines. The blood-stained carpet, a dark, accusing scar stretching beneath the bed, told of violence interrupted only by the sterile intervention of bleach. There was a madness in that attempt to erase the past, the desperation of a person trying to scrub away the stains of guilt with chemicals and deceit. The bed frame slats bore their own story, the reddish-brown spots like cryptic hieroglyphs etched in anguish. Their presence corroborated Jennifer's chilling confessions to her lover, each drop a testament to her cold, calculating resolve. The new mattress sat incongruously within the scene, its pristine surface a stark contrast to the history that lay beneath. It was a silent witness, its arrival timed with precision, another piece in Jennifer's meticulous, yet ultimately flawed, narrative. Outside, the sun had reached a zenith, casting sharp shadows across the neighborhood, now a community on the brink of an uneasy awakening. The facade of suburban bliss was crumbling, revealing the fragile underpinnings of trust that had held it together. Neighbors whispered behind closed doors, their once mundane interactions now tinged with suspicion and fear. As the investigation expanded, it pulled in Jennifer's parents, Thomas and Rosalie, their complicity unraveling as expertly as Jennifer's own web of lies. The couple's presence at the Gledhill home during the critical days following the murder was a linchpin in the case. Their initial claims of innocence crumbled under scrutiny. Rosalie's reset phone and the purchased mattress were linchpins connecting them to the cover-up. Thomas's words to the police, a slip of the tongue, revealed an intimate knowledge of details no innocent bystander should possess, their attempts to shield their daughter inadvertently exposing them further. The discovery of the Glock 19 Xbox, shrouded in the innocence of a child's onesie, revealed their complicity in the conspiracy, a haunting juxtaposition of innocence and guilt. The gun, a tool of finality, was now an anchor dragging them into the depths of legal retribution. Yet, amid the mounting evidence, Matthew Johnson's body remained elusive, an absence that loomed larger with each passing month. The search parties, relentless in their pursuit, combed through fields and forests, their footsteps echoing with the dogged determination to bring a friend, a comrade, home. The terrain, vast and unforgiving, seemed to conspire with the secrets, swallowing them whole, leaving only whispers of possibility for the searchers to cling to. For Kevin Thompson, John Hash, and those who had stood by Matthew in life, the ongoing search was a testament to their loyalty, the bonds forged in the crucible of military service, now tested in the uncertainty of loss. The weight of unresolved questions pressed heavily upon them, each day of fruitless searching a reminder of the stark reality that Jennifer's betrayal had wrought. As the investigation continued, the story of Jennifer Gledhill's actions unfurled with a complexity that stunned seasoned detectives and chilled the heart of the community. It was a tale of deception and desperation, where every apparent solution only deepened the mystery, leaving them all adrift in a sea of unanswered questions and haunting silences. Under the dimly flickering neon lights of the Salt Lake County Jail, the air buzzed with a heavy tension, thick as the coming storm clouds that brooded over the city. Inside, Jennifer Gledhill sat amidst the cold, stark surroundings of her cell, her mind a chaotic swirl of thoughts, each more desperate and panicked than the last. Outside those walls, the relentless pursuit of justice unfurled with a dogged persistence. The weight of her actions pressed down like a suffocating shroud, promising no reprieve, no escape. The arrest of Jennifer Gledhill had sent shockwaves through the community, reverberating with the force of a thunderclap. Those who had once known her as a devoted mother and military wife were now left grappling with the unfathomable reality of her betrayal. The investigation had revealed a labyrinth of deceit and desperation that had ensnared her, a tangled web woven with lies and betrayal. Even the seasoned detectives found themselves unnerved by the chilling intricacies of her plan, each revelation darker and more sinister than the last. On the day of her arrest, the biting wind carried whispers of her guilt through the streets, wrapping around the houses like a cloak of despair. The community braced itself for the tempest of emotions her trial would unleash. Jennifer, a woman whose life had been defined by the role she played, mother, wife, friend, now stood accused of the most profound betrayal, not only to her family, but to the very essence of humanity itself. As the trial approached, the courtroom became a crucible of emotions, a theater where the tragic story of love, betrayal, and murder would be laid bare for all to see. The air inside was taut with anticipation, the silence punctuated by the soft rustle of papers and the somber, measured tones of legal discourse. The prosecution, armed with evidence as damning as it was irrefutable, painted a picture of a woman driven by an insatiable desire to sever the ties that bound her, to pursue a forbidden love at any cost. The discovery of the vehicle storage container, bobbing ominously in the murky waters, had been the first crack in Jennifer's carefully constructed facade. The blood-stained evidence inside was a silent scream, echoing the moments of horror and violence that had led to Matthew's disappearance. Though Matthew's body remained elusive, the chilling specter of his absence loomed over the proceedings, a constant reminder of the irreparable loss suffered by those who loved him. Jennifer's not guilty plea stood in stark contrast to the mounting evidence, a defiant denial of the truth that hung in the air like a specter. Her defense attorneys painted her as a woman cornered by circumstance, driven to desperation by the pressures of a life unraveling. Yet, the eyes of the jury remained fixed on the tragic reality that lay beneath the surface. A husband, a father, a hero, vanished into the depths of secrecy and betrayal. The trial unraveled like a grim tapestry, each testimony a thread weaving a narrative of loss and broken promises. The courtroom air grew heavy with the weight of unspoken truths, the silent cries of 3 children left orphaned by the cruel machinations of fate. Each day, the gallery filled with spectators, drawn by the dark allure of the proceedings, bearing witness to the unfolding tragedy. As the trial moved inexorably towards its conclusion, the question lingered in the minds of all who watched. What drove Jennifer Gledhill to such depths of desperation? The answer, elusive as the wind, would perhaps never fully satisfy the aching void left by Matthew's absence. Justice, when it finally came, would be a balm to some, but for others, it would forever be a reminder of the wounds that time could never truly heal. And in the quiet aftermath, amidst the hushed corridors and echoing footsteps, the world would remember a man who was more than the circumstances of his death, a soldier whose final resting place was yet to be uncovered by the truth. Found. The courthouse was enveloped in an oppressive silence, the kind that clung to the skin and settled in the bones, as the final echoes of the gavel drummed through the room. Justice, relentless and patient, had cast its net wide, ensnaring every last thread of deceit that Jennifer Gledhill wove in her desperate bid to escape accountability. In the end, the dark waters that had swallowed Matthew's remains whispered secrets only time could unearth. Beneath the solemn gaze of the judge, a mother's shattered dreams lay bare, stripped of pretense, and laid before the world. The air buzzed with a shared anticipation, a communal hope that, though Matthew's body was still lost to the depths, truth would rise like a phoenix, illuminating the path to a justice that felt both inevitable and irrevocably incomplete.